What's up, boys? Welcome back to another POV analysis. Last time I did the Maru against Trap, insane late game PvP. Make sure to check that out if you haven't. And today we're gonna do Maru against Serral. Honestly, guys, this tournament, the Alpha Single Battles, has produced so many amazing games. I'm probably gonna do another one. Like we had Cure beat Rainer and Serral, 2i beating Rogue, and honestly, some of the games have just been insane. But Maru, he has been showing like picture perfect late game in like every matchup. And late game is something that I don't really, I'm not an expert in that. So that's why the TVP last time was really interesting for me. And now we're going to be looking at Maru beating Serral in the late game. And also in the quarterfinals of this tournament, Maru beat Innovation with some perfect late games. So I don't know. To be honest, it's just a gold mine. I really enjoyed doing last episode. I'm sure I'm going to enjoy this one as well. So yeah, might be some more of these, but for now, let's get into this one. So just like last time, I am using the old replay overlay so I can check out those hotkeys. Gonna be staying in Maru's POV for most of the game unless I want to like explain something or if the camera movement really gets a little bit too trippy. So I have to say about the trap game, I actually watched that entirely, I think. Or maybe not for the start here, but this game I actually just tuned in like towards the end. So I'm also going to check with you guys how he opens. Now, when we did the Clem analysis, I did mention that like every Korean player pretty much just does 3cc. And Clem is the only top Terran that actually opens 2 base. So if I had to guess, we're going to see a 3cc here. I don't know what version Maru is going to do. Of course, I feel like when you open like a Banshee or something like that, it's kind of like you want to either play safe or you play against someone that plays a lot of roaches. Or you just think you're better than your opponent. Well, Maru is obviously, he respects Serral a lot. He knows how good Serral is. So I don't expect the Banshee, but honestly with Koreans you never know. Their metas is different from Europeans. Even though we try to copy them, some things we don't copy for, like I for example think Banshees are not that great. But I don't know. Koreans do whatever they want and it usually works. Especially when it's Maru. So let's see. I noticed that he didn't SCV scout. I have to say, I've been SCV scouting every game for like this entire year pretty much. So I didn't even consider the possibility of not SCV scouting anymore. So somehow this is already a surprise to me. I know it shouldn't be, but it's already a little bit uncommon, I think. Can we see we probably can't see the server this is played on, I guess. I think it would be interesting to know if this was played on West or Central to know who was playing with the slight ping advantage, but I'm honestly not sure. Here we go, 3cc. This, guys, is what every standard TvZ build looks like. If you watch a Korean play, they're gonna open like this, actually, at least 80% of the games. And then after the starport, they decide what they're actually gonna do. Banshee, Raven, Liberator, Battlecruiser, whatever. In some cases, they actually go for second barracks as well. The Cure has been doing that a lot. It's a very interesting... honestly, just recently popular variation, but I don't think Maru really plays it too much. So now we're gonna see what the version Maru prefers. I think most of the time I saw Maru play, even when he was streaming himself, he actually went for Liberator or Viking Liberator, so I imagine we're gonna see something like that. No tech up yet as well. I'm pretty sure you can actually make every starport unit now. I even see Terrans opening up with Ravens. Which, yeah, that's the thing I've been experimenting with unsuccessfully, I have to say. But I've seen Innovation do it a lot. I don't know if it was Clem who did it. Also Arctur in DreamHack Europe. So yeah, I'm gonna try a little bit more. Maybe I'll have something cool to show you guys later on, but not yet for sure. For now, let's just learn from our boy Maru here. So he actually goes straight Liberator, despite not having enough gas. Kind of interesting that he skips the Viking, actually. I feel like the Viking is really useful with the Liberator, because you can kind of clean the Overlords around the Zerg's base before you go in. So he's actually going to go straight Liberator. Like I said, I think Maru really likes this opener, going for the Lib. I do as well. Though most of the times I actually play Viking into Liberator. Recently I've been doing a bit of Liberator first, but the 2-base version, Clem style, Just like you guys, I'm trying to learn from the best, okay? You guys learned from me, I learned from them. And now we're learning from Maru together. Beautiful, isn't it? So this is pretty similar to the timing attack you usually see. He's probably gonna try to run away with 8 Hellions. Or at least a very heavy while sieging the Liberator. The timing is not exactly perfect because he skipped the Viking to make the Liberator faster. Normally if you get the Viking first, the timing works out a bit smoother, but obviously the Liberator arrives a lot later. And usually you have to hold back the Hellions as well. So this is actually a very interesting thing that seems very minor, but I usually, like sometimes it just happens automatically, you see the creep and you scan. But I don't usually scan for the creep with my early units because it feels very expensive for what you achieve. You kill a few tumors and yeah, you waste a mule for it, which is like 200 minerals-ish. So, excuse me. This actually is quite interesting to me already that he actually goes for the creep deny completely. So here, as you can see, tries to go for the run by. Sees a very appropriate amount of Zerglings. When you play against Serral, I can tell from experience, he's not usually a person that skips on defenses. I feel like if this was any other Zerg, there's a pretty good chance here that they don't have enough Zerglings and Maru would have right-clicked those Hellions in. But Serral usually has the appropriate amount of Zerglings. Always playing very safe. Yeah, he lost a few and he still has 25, so he actually made more links than I even expected, to be honest. So Maru doing the same version of TvZ I always do, which is getting the 4th gas a bit delayed. Normally people get the E-base and then 3rd and 4th gas at the same time, but I actually stole this from Maru, so that's logical. He gets the 4th gas a bit later so you can afford the 4th and 5th barracks a bit faster. And in my experience that the timings you do hit a little bit harder like that. The only thing I think you might struggle with is affording the 2nd set of medevacs with the way if you do it like this. So that's yeah, the disadvantage of the build, I guess, but I think it's usually worth it. And Maru thinks so as well. And I'm gonna take Maru's word for it, guys. Okay. I'm not gonna doubt our boy too much here. I know sometimes I can be a little bit skeptical, but here we are learning from the master himself. So this is a very interesting Korean thing as well. Or yeah, to be honest, this is pretty common. I see Clem do it too, is that they go for straight mines. And I'm really afraid to do this because I'm afraid of roaches. So this does make me think that when Maru dove into the natural with the Hellions, he always wants to make this move to see if there's a roach warren, and then if there's a roach warren, he might go for tanks. Normally, I don't know, I see Koreans do this blindly a lot. I think Clem did this blindly against Rainer and lost to like a big roach all-in. Which is the weakness of this build, by the way. You can't really stop a 3-base 1-1 roach all-in. So Maru saw the bailing nest and decided he was safe to do it. Or maybe he doesn't care and does it anyway. I also saw Innovation in the King of Battles just go blind mines every time. So I don't know. I think they just really like their mines, but you know, in the last episode with Maru and TvP, everything was so logical, so I'm kind of assuming here that it was based off of his scouting as well, you know. One thing to notice from recent games is that top Terrans, I don't know if you guys picked up on this as well. I think maybe I picked up on it a little bit late. Is that on Pillars of Gold they always attack from this angle, and I was always like trying to deny like the creep in the middle or here, but they always attack from this angle, and to be honest, it makes so much sense, and I wonder why I didn't do it before. But I only noticed recently that they always attack from that angle. So here you can see the order of Maru doing things. He got his 5th gas, then the 4th command center, and then after that he got his 6th gas and extra barracks. Now usually I take the 6th gas a little bit later, because I feel like beyond upgrades you don't spend that much gas. But I wonder how Maru is actually going to spend that, as he's a more late game focused player, especially on these big Zerg maps. Loaded into the red medevac. Rookie mistake, guys. Shit, I doubted him. I told you guys I wouldn't doubt him, but I did. Ooh. That Widow Mine hit looked like it was going to be massive for a second there, but it wasn't. Okay. Now what I want to know is, if I play late game TvZ, what I struggle with a lot is defending my bases. Like 4 bases and beyond against like Midas and Lings. Because when I play late game against Zerg and I play against a Zerg that leaves me alone, I can do that, you know. That's not super difficult, but to me it's really hard to like efficiently defend all my bases while going to the late game. Because like Midas get a lot of free damage if you don't look At one time, Banelings are gonna roll into your bases, maybe even snipe your PF and put you on a really bad economy. So I'm just kind of curious how Maru is gonna do this. Alright, to me, here we can already see that Maru is going for the late game. And why? It's very similar to the trap game. I don't know if you remember, at some point Maru only made quality units and stopped making bio. He was just making Ghost Liberator. I feel like here for a pretty long time he already hasn't made any Marines. He's just making Marauders and Mines. There's one Marine. But it feels like he's already making the switch here to only making quality units, which in his opinion in this matchup are not Marines apparently. And this is the same unit composition discipline I talked about with you guys last time. Is that sometimes he was at like 160 supply against Trap, and he didn't make any bio, he was just making Ghost and Liberators, and now he's already going to the late game doing that. Like, he's not even maxing out, he's not even trying to lose some units, trade some units with a push or anything. He was on 165 supply or so, and he was already starting that transition to the quote-unquote perfect army composition. I always thought this was like when you're already in the late game kind of thing, but he actually started it so early. Like, he's never maxed out in this game, and he's not focused on unit production at all. He's just focused on getting there. Now he's starting a few more Marines. And I'm gonna keep a close eye on this production tab, because this is actually super interesting. Like, to be honest, guys, I've tried to play like Maru many times, but right now in the King of Battles and in GSL and stuff, he's motivating me so much, because he's playing late game in every matchup, and he's just winning against such insane players that I have to try it, guys. And I bet you guys have to try it as well. So to me this is just fascinating, and I want to know what I'm gonna lose with on the ladder for the next week, you know. Maybe I'll give it a shot in the ESL Cup. Maybe I'll give it a shot on the ladder. I don't know, maybe some custom games, but it's definitely very cool. Did forget concussor shells for a bit. Let's see. So recently Maru and Kier, they played TvZ with like a split push kind of style. And right now it also seems like he's kind of trying to do that, but he's still being attacked everywhere. But he did have kind of two armies, but I don't know, it was still like a really big main army and a small army back at home. And to me it looks like Maru is actually struggling a bunch with these mutas already. So this is not quite the perfect defense I was expecting, but he's still minimizing damage so far pretty well. And now he's going to take his 5th base. Let's see. Yeah, so far he has like 2 groups of units hotkeyed. If you look in the middle, you can see here he has his main army hotkeyed and then the squad in the main. And this is the kind of stuff I was talking about, you know, mutas are hopping around in the main, and now you can see Serral setting up a baiting attack on the left. So Maru does have a very small minefield here to protect that. Before, he actually had the minefield around here, but now it seems like since his focus is on the right side, he actually moved over the minefield a little bit to the left. And now you can see what I was talking about earlier with those split pushes. You see he has a good army here, and then he actually has an army here as well. And right now he's not pushing yet, but it's very important to have those 2 armies. And that seems to be kind of the key that I may have been missing. Because, yeah, if Banelings would have rolled in here against me, I would have had most of my army here. And maybe I win this fight by a bit. But this base dies and my eco sucks. And then I lose to his 4,000 minerals, you know. And in TVP it was a little bit different, because he had like a really high-tech army, like Ghost, Viking, Liberator, and then he had a small bio squad. But here he actually seems to have two bio squads, basically, you know. Now he's actually making a lot more Marines, so it's not completely the case that he doesn't make any more Marines at some point. He's actually making some more Marines now. So maybe this is yeah, so I think right now I kind of understand it already, just by the fact that he's making Marines now. Is that the fact that he was making only Marauders and Mines seems to be a transition from the early game. In early game TvZ, you don't make Marauders. You have like a bunch of barracks with tech labs, you're making Mines. So at some point, to basically even out the unit composition a bit, he stops making Marines completely and he just makes Marauders. So it's not that he doesn't want Marines, he just wants to even out the composition a bit from the early game, because he didn't actually trade that much this game. By now, at 30 minutes, they actually did trade out a bit. But in the early game, he did like the double drop. And he just, if I remember correctly, he flew away with 2 full medevacs, he didn't really lose any. So now he's actually making the Ghost Academy 30 minutes. As you can see, this Ghost Academy is definitely not rushed at all. This, I don't know, this is a very reasonably timed Ghost Academy. He's been maxed for a bit. And here you go, these are the kind of moves that are really tough to play against. Because right now, you would say Serral wasted 1 million resources to kill this base. But here, there's actually no backup base. He's actually going to have to fly over the main to do that. Which is going to be an orbital as well. So this is the kind of move I was talking about that's very painful. And to be honest, so far it seems like all my questions are kind of being answered by like Maru split pushing. Because first he defended the Mutas and the big counterattack, if you remember, through the middle with his second army. And now he was able to kind of like avenge his lost planetary by attacking and killing a base in the bottom. Or did he kill 2 bases even? I'm not sure if Serral had the this one over here yet. But so right, yeah, like I said, first he defended with a second army, and now he actually punished Serral for being on the other side of the map with that second army. And it seems like so far he's never really taken a bad trade in general yet. And once again, the second army does it. So far it seems pretty simple, I have to say. There's no big secret. You split push and you play very fast and you micro both groups well. Like we already knew that, right? But I also saw Cure do this, so I feel like this is maybe this is something they learned from Maru, because I feel like when it comes to the late game, Maru is always kind of a pioneer in Korea especially. How did he even find those Marines? The Marauders stuck there. It's like everything was going on, he was fighting, and then randomly he lifted a barracks in his main to free his Marauders. That's kind of funny. So he's fighting down here, he's fighting in the top left. And at some point he just goes to his main and frees the Marauders. Like, you know, let's be real, guys. We all have games where we have like 20 Marauders stuck, or like 5 tanks in your main or something. Well, not Maru. There's 2 Marauders stuck and he already noticed it. He's already disgusted by the low amount of units he has in his second army. Or his third army. He also hadn't added ghosts yet. That's an important thing. I feel like a lot of us kind of struggle. And by the way, guys, just to be clear, because I know what you guys are thinking. A lot of times when I say a lot of us, I mean me. Okay? A lot of us struggle knowing when to make ghost. Because sometimes when you make ghost against Zerg in the late game, your army becomes really slow. And that's when you really get torn apart by these counterattack and fast armies by the Zerg. So yeah, even now he saw Ultras and he still hasn't made Ghost, I believe. Yeah, not a single Ghost. That's pretty sick. So I really wonder what like the queue is for him to make Ghost. Because he got the Ghost Academy about 3 minutes ago. Now he's making some Ghosts. So it seems like the queue is honestly just the Ultras, pretty much, right? He saw a few ults earlier, but he didn't have supply to make them, I believe. So now he saw Ultras, he lost a few units, and then he's gonna remax on Ghost. And I'm sorry guys, but I keep being fascinated by the discipline he has for the army composition. You know, he either lost a bunch of units, and instead of just like panic pressing some Marauders and Marines, he only starts Ghost and nothing else. He's so disciplined with the army composition when he wants a unit. He doesn't make a single other Marauder or Marine to stay safe or anything, just only Ghost. And he always molds the army composition perfectly to what he wants it to be. And it's so sick. And I noticed this before in Maru's late game TvZ as well, a while ago, when like King Scove was still in the map pool. And he actually played like some very campy Ghost Liberator games. Like his discipline with the army composition was just insane. He was only making Marauder mines for most of it and not Marines. And now I'm actually looking closely at the replay, I can understand it why. He doesn't necessarily not want Marines or Marauders. He just molds the composition perfectly as he wants it to be. So what I do have to say is that his composition actually does seem to include a decent amount of Ghosts, because he is still making Ghosts, guys. He hasn't stopped yet. I think he already has like 8 or 9 9 ghost, 4 more on the way. And it's only ghost mine at this point. And every time he lost a unit, he used the supply to make more ghost.
Your forces are under attack.
It seems like he's actually gonna go up to like 15 at some point. And then I just wonder how he's really gonna be able to use those. Because we all know it's pretty hard to use ghost against the Zerg that has like, you know, a bunch of link bailing. The Banish close in on your ghost while you're trying to snipe the ultras and they take damage. And the snipes are cancelled. Very important to note, guys. I told you guys this in the trap, the Maru trap game that I analyzed. He doesn't use too many army hotkeys. He has 2 army hotkeys right now. You're wondering how does he do all this at the same time? He has 2 army hotkeys, and his ghosts are all together with the bio in both squads. So for both squads, he would have to tab to stim basically. I was always wondering about this because, I don't know, for me it feels like tabbing in both places at once to stim is kind of confusing. Imagine if you only have Linkbane here, you need to stim this army, and then you go over to here and there's ultras. But in your head you just had to stim. I don't know, I feel like mentally it's pretty confusing for me. But now I do know how he hotkeys them, and I want to see how quick his like reactions are on like the snipes and everything. But you can see that he's struggling a little bit with like the little run dice, you know. He has 2 armies, but sometimes Serral comes with the Zerglings in the middle, and it's pretty tough. And now he's getting taken down on the right side. This is what we're afraid of, this is what I was talking about earlier. For Ghost, if the Banix are on the Ghost, yeah, all you can do is run. You can't snipe anything. It's rough. So here Maru recognized he actually needed all of... Oh, wait, do you see those ultra skating? Can we see that again? That's kind of weird. I saw like a bunch of ultraless skating. I don't know what that was. Maybe we can see it again. Also, you guys will just have to skip back the video for a bit, I suppose, if you want to see it. So here Maru recognized... Oh, there we go again! Here Maru recognized that he needed to defend everything on the left side and actually kind of consciously gave up the base on the right side, which... to me, why are they ultraless skating, man? Just ice skating. It's so stupid. So, to me it's kind of crazy that he made that decision, because you would think he needed to defend the right side as well. That's a vulnerable base. But in the end it works out very well for him. Also, why are all these bases, except for that one, orbitals? Like this one we know because he replaced it. But this one is also an orbital, and he didn't even... Is he that confident in defending it without planetaries? Does he think planetaries just die all the time? Well, like with mech I've seen it before, because if you have like Ling randomized against mech, you have Hellions that are also fast. But defending mass orbital with bio, that seems very ambitious to say the least, to be honest. Here we're gonna get a big fight, looks like. Ghosts are always in the back. You can very clearly see how he positions his units. The Marauders are always in the front, then the Marines, and then the Ghosts are all the way in the back. So the Marines are behind the Marauders, but they have, because they have the DPS to gun down the Balings and Links, right? And then the Ghosts need to be even further back to get the snipes off. You know, the Ultralisk mostly. I guess for Broodlords they probably wouldn't be in the back. But that was a very clear order of where he actually had his units positioned compared to the others. Let's see how many SCVs we have. We have 50 SCVs. He just launched a bunch of mills, so he might catch up in the economy soon. Now, it also does seem that Maru is not too concerned about actually doing too much economic damage, because he hasn't... I don't think he's done like any drop, to be honest. All he does is deny the base that he really doesn't want Serral to take, which is the base on the right, because he feels like he can't deny that. And... yeah, he just doesn't want Serral to have that much money. So he's really thinking about it in like a late game economic situation where you want to have more bank in the end than the other guy, to have mine more resources, you know. But he's not actually doing like small drops to, you know, kill a few drones here and there. He actually doesn't bother with that at all. Which is kind of similar to his TVP as well. The only harassment he really did was the nukes. And besides that, all he used his bio army for was to deny the outer bases sometimes. But he didn't actually really do any jobs with his bio army or anything like that. I think he may not even have sent out any liberators, maybe like one or something. And that pattern is going to continue here. Also notice that he didn't make any Liberators here after the early game as well. So that's not a unit he wants in his composition at all against like Ultraling Bane or something like that. Like he didn't even think about it. No way in the hell. Ooh, that's a pretty good fungal, but that's a pretty crazy play. I mean, maybe if he went for it. There we go. He's getting a little bit disorganized here, you can see. Like, he was really feeling the attack. And then you can instantly tell that it went kind of wrong. Even though he's still winning the battle here. Let's bring the Ghost. So you could see the moment he kind of like gave up his order of Marauders, Marines, Ghosts, that it went kind of wrong. Because the Banelings got onto the Marines. The Ghosts didn't get all the snipes off they wanted. That one Ultra lived for a very long time. So I guess I really need to pay very close attention to that order of units. Now let's see what the incomes look like now. Serral's still mining a lot at this point. But this base is starting to get mined out. This base is, you know, actually there's only 200 left on those patches. So this is basically the only base Serral has at this point that's actually mining. That's pretty crazy to think about. It's only 22 minutes, which doesn't seem that long into the game. I know it's a pretty long game, but to think that Serral was actually... So that then all of a sudden it makes a lot of sense why Maru is only targeting that base in particular, right? Because that's actually the only base Serral is going to be mining from in a few minutes, really. And then after, if that base is gone, Serral actually doesn't have anything on Maru, because Maru is about to take this base. I doubt Serral is going to be able to contest that if it turns into a planetary with some turrets. I saw Serral split on the minimap against the mine. That was pretty cool, actually. So let's see what is... After all this chaos, what does his army composition look like now? Marauder Marine ratio is still even. And he has 5 Ghosts. You can see he's adding Medevacs priority because he doesn't have enough. He only has 2. And I actually wonder if Maru, like, takes his time. Like, here it just seems like he's taking his time to realize what to build. Because he doesn't really know what to make. And decides to make a bunch of Marauders. Once again, I don't know. I feel like I never really see like the Terrans be so disciplined with their unit composition that there's not a single Marine in the production tab for like minutes at a time. I honestly, with this many links, I would expect him to make more Marines at this point. He makes 1. That's not the number I was talking about. Okay, now he's making a few more Marines after seeing all the links. So I guess I got that correct. Also, I have to say, guys, his mines... I think he's made so many mines this game, but there's like not a mine drop, or he also doesn't have like a particularly big minefield anywhere else. Ghost coming to play. Marauder's tanking all those Banelings. That looked for a great catch for Serral, but in the end it was actually not that fantastic. So let's look at the income now. You see, Serral's money is actually starting to dry out a lot, and now Maru is actually ahead in bases, ahead in economy. And that's pretty amazing, because looking at this game, it kind of felt like Maru has been getting attacked all the time and getting his bases denied. Well, Maru has pretty much only denied 1 base, and he denied the corner base 1 other time. But besides that, he hasn't done like any small economic harassment. And yet, he seems to have complete control of the economic game after 25 minutes. And what for me is also very cool about this is that this game was played on the American server, whether it be Central or West, I'm not sure. But what I want to say with that is that a lot of times when you watch a player like Maru play, it's very easy to just think they're winning because they're microing insanely well. Like you've all seen it like with Clem or something, with like the Inhuman splits against Disruptors or whatever, and Maru. But here, it actually seems like he's winning because of pure strategy pretty much, because he can't actually micro to the best of his abilities. And it actually hurts a lot to play in the US when it comes to the micro on the US server. So that's the really interesting part here, that Maru is just winning with strategy. And in theory, guys, that should be more copyable than just Inhuman micro, if you know what I mean. Which is honestly very cool. Here we go. Mine's getting insane hits and the snipes off. And now Serral's actually, yeah, there we go. GG, Serral's out of money, out of army. Honestly, it's so fascinating for me. Like, I don't know. I can't really imagine winning those kind of games like this, because normally when I play games like this, I have like drops everywhere, and sometimes I kill like 40 drones here and there, and then I probably still lose, you know. And Maru doesn't really do any of that fancy stuff. He just has his very disciplined army composition, 2 armies always. Sometimes it even looked like he messed it up, but he still seemed to have perfect control of the macro game, which is honestly just awesome. Just like I said last time, guys, we have a long way to go. This is probably not the last one I'm gonna do, guys, of these analysis, because there's so many cool games. Maybe a Cure game. I got a lot of requests for Cure against Raynor or Cure against Serral as well. Maybe Maru against Innovation for TvT. But we'll see. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video anyway. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And see you guys next time. Adios.